Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, what's your name?
Mariclare.
I'm Mariclare. We are going to skydiving today.
I know.
You feel good? Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty pumped.
Do you want to say anything to your friend or family back home?
Sorry, I didn't tell you about this.
You didn't. You'll be fine, no worry.
Yeah, I know.
See you up there. Bye-bye.
Okay, so picture this. A twin-engine airplane flying over the tropical rainforests of northern Queensland, Australia. The plane's a little small, that's true, but it's comfortable, and you're with your friends, the people you just met. And the sun is shining, and the birds are chirping, and even though you're a little squished in your seat, you're happy and you're fine, and you're looking out the window, and in the distance you can see a mountain range. And it's beautiful. It's covered in jungle. I mean, it's the lushest jungle you've ever seen. And it's also the oldest jungle in the world, so you're kind of in awe. And then when you look out the other side of the window, you see the water. But not just any water. You see the Great Barrier Reef stretching out into the horizon. And you think to yourself, man, this is great. This is beautiful. I can't believe I'm seeing this. And then all of a sudden, things change. And things start to get really fast, and people are moving, and there's a lot of shuffling, and before you know it, you're sitting on the edge, and all of a sudden, you're falling. That's right, falling. So if you didn't already see where this story was going, it's actually about falling in the most literal sense of the word. And before we begin, I think it's fair that I just put this out there, and that is that I consider myself one of those people who is an adrenaline junkie, or a thrill seeker, or just that friend that's up for anything. You've got one. And I am that person, and I have always sort of been that person, and lately I've been thinking about this a lot, considering the fact that my family has sort of encouraged this behavior, and I think that this is the reason why I found myself literally falling out of an airplane voluntarily when I was studying abroad in Australia. And on that note, the first part of this story is going to be about family, and more specifically, it's going to be about the role of nature and nurture in our lives, because, we grow up with our family, and I think that in a way, we're very similar to our immediate family members, specifically siblings. You share similar life experiences and a very similar childhood, and you can grow up to be such different people in many ways, but you're also really similar. So how much of a role is nature and nurture? Why is it that I am the one that found myself jumping out of an airplane, and my brother, for example, is the kind of guy who is literally afraid to climb up of a ladder? I mean, these are the questions that I have, and that's what we're going to be talking about, at least in the first part of this story. Now, I had a chance to catch up with my brother, Liam.
Hi, my name's Liam.
Liam is a freshman.
I go to school at the University of Pittsburgh Swanson School of Engineering, trademark.
Liam is also really afraid of heights, and I mean, he is literally terrified of them.
I do not like heights at all. It's really not the heights that bother me as much as I don't like the idea of falling off of things. But our dad used to make us get up on this ladder to go on the roof, and I remember the ladder just shaking. And the higher you get, the worse it got. It would just shake even more because...
And he basically told me that this ladder memory is what set it off for him. This is when he remembers being the most afraid of heights. And once he said that, I remembered that when we were kids, Liam and my dad would do all sorts of odd jobs around the house, most of which involved the two of them climbing up on this rickety ladder. And I never came up with them.
But yeah, I didn't like the shaking ladders, so...
Have you ever done things that are considered like extreme sports?
No, I don't do extreme sports.
What about, stuff like zip lining? That would definitely be up
That's
there.
extreme to you?
I mean, those are definitely like adrenaline-seeking activities.
Well, I wasn't seeking the adrenaline
Yeah,
when
but
I was doing it. I've ziplined. Yes, I've ziplined.
you've ziplined a few times.
Yes, I've also done a high ropes course a number of times. Don't like it. Done it.
And then Liam told me about a more recent encounter he'd had with heights.
Senior year, we went up to this place called Flagstaff Extreme. It's just a high ropes course. It's supposed to be super fun. Everyone's gonna have a great time. You go up in the high ropes course, you know, play around. You can move the obstacles around, mess with your friends. Sounds like a great thing. Until you don't like heights and you're up there. So, yeah, I was up there with my friends, and there are these big bridges, and they're really hard to stay on already, but you can shake them. And my friends were shaking me good, let me tell you.
Now, the funny thing is that Liam is literally the only one of us 3 siblings who has this fear of heights. I obviously don't have any issues with it myself, and neither does my younger sister. But then again, the 2 of us never grew up climbing the death ladder on the weekends.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing with me, Liam.
You're welcome.
And at this point, I think it's fair to say that I've cracked the case. That is the case of nature versus nurture, in this scenario at least. Now, for the record, I have no background and no training in clinical psychology, so this conclusion is based purely on my own opinion, and it probably can't be substantiated by actual scientific fact. Still, I'm confident that Liam's fear of heights stems from this latter memory. This memory is vivid to him, and it's important. It's something that he's kept from his childhood, so even though he is an engineer and he's very practical in nature, I truly believe that this memory has shaped him. So it's nurture. And this brings us to part 2, the actual falling part. Now, I'm not really sure where the idea to go skydiving originated, but I'm pretty sure it was my roommate Sam who put the idea in my head. And I was going to the Great Barrier Reef, so I figured this was a good time to do it. And this is where my friend Caroline comes in.
Hello.
Hi, Caroline. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. Sorry it took me a minute. I'm literally like recording this phone call in my school's radio station, and I was like trying to figure it all out, and I think I got it.
Well, that's fine.
So, Caroline is somebody that I met a few weeks into my study abroad, and we quickly became friends, which was great. She's actually still a really close friend of mine today.
I'm just working on physics homework, so I don't mind.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Okay, so basically, I'm working on a podcasting project, and it's all about falling, and so I'm telling the story of the time we went skydiving.
Yeah.
So I'm basically just gonna like ask you a few questions, and you can just tell me about your experience. And obviously, the key is talking about. Caroline and I talked at length about that day. Basically, they start by gearing you up. We were wearing huge harnesses because you're not only strapped to your parachute, you are strapped to another human being. And it's heavy, and it's incredibly tight. Now, once you get on the plane, things get even tighter. You and your cohort of jumpers are essentially packed into a tiny metal tube, and it's loud. And if you thought flying economy was uncomfortable, let me tell you, this was worse, because all we had to sit on was a metal bench inside this rickety twin-engine airplane.
We passed the clouds, which was a little crazy, and I was like, I'm not going to jump. Like, this isn't real. And then I was actually the third person to jump. And when the people in front of me jumped off the plane, I just freaked out a little bit, and they just kind of disappeared. I don't really know where they went. And then it was my turn, and we just jumped.
We jumped from 16,000 feet, and it takes about 10 minutes to get up there. Once you're at altitude, they open the doors, and that's when the wind comes rushing in. So it's incredibly loud. Things start to move quickly, too. Everyone begins to move and reposition themselves. And before you know it, people are taking the leap, one after the other. And there's not a lot of time to process the whole experience. I mean, in that moment, you're basically along for the ride. And if I'm being totally honest here, I don't really remember a lot of that early jump. My memory's kind of foggy. Thankfully, I have video to prove it, but at the beginning, I just remember being focused on the moment. It was weird too because there's so much wind, you know? Like, I remember just being overwhelmed by how windy it was. You couldn't hear anything, like you couldn't talk to anybody, you really couldn't speak.
Oh, I couldn't breathe.
You couldn't breathe?
I don't think I was breathing. I think I was just kind of like in this state of shock almost. I don't remember doing anything, just like that moment. That's all I could think about.
The best part, though, is the fall. The wind, the speed, the adrenaline of it all. It's exciting. You're not thinking about anything else outside of that moment. And I think that's really the point I'm trying to get to here, is that the reason people like me are attracted to things like skydiving is because it gives you an opportunity to live in the moment and to cherish the moment. And when it's all said and done, I think that what we're really looking for is a real moment. A moment when we're not glued to our computer screens or tethered to our smartphones. Some of us may go hiking or get away, but some of us want more. You know, just for a second, you want to live outside of yourself. And when you jump out of an airplane, you're not thinking about your test the next day. You're thinking about the wind hitting your face and the sun warming your skin. You're thinking about how cold it is when you first let go and how warm it gets the closer you fall back to Earth. I feel like I don't take the time to appreciate how amazing the world is and how lucky I am to be here. And since this experience, I've actually started to make some changes in my life. And to start, I've stopped asking for and also giving other people gifts, you know, around the holidays or at birthdays. I mean, I give them gifts, but not things that are material objects. Instead, I've started to give the gift of an experience. And before you think to yourself, wow, that sounds pretentious, let me just say that can take the form of anything from, you know, a great pair of concert tickets to a fun hiking trip upstate, or even a chance to go skydiving on a whim. I think that these are more valuable things to give people because these are the moments that we'll remember. The times that we actually share ourselves with another person.